Hi everyone, this is Joe Brewer here. I'm sitting in the forest that I've been restoring for 3.5 years. And I want to share with you a few reflections on indigeneity and the idea that there are people who are non-indigenous and people who are indigenous. Because as I'm sitting here in this forest that is filled with native plants, and I'm learning the ecology of this place, I'm learning how to become indigenous to a place that I didn't even know existed until 5 years ago. And now if you just look at some of these beautiful plants that are growing in here and how well this is coming together, how the soils are building, there are ants building soils from the plants here in the ground. And this is a really beautiful process of coming into a relationship with a specific place, a sacred relationship of stewardship, a place of care, a place of relating in a participatory way with life around us. And this is something that all of our friends from intact indigenous cultures tell us that we should be doing. And one of the ways that I'm learning to be indigenous to this place, slowly, is by participating in this natural ecological process of restoring a native forest that exists nowhere else on Earth. This is the high Andes tropical dry forest. Some estimates I've seen from research studies say that it's 78% endemic species, meaning almost 8 out of 10 species exist nowhere else on Earth, so I couldn't have possibly known about them before I came here. And yet, by helping to create education programs for children to immerse them in this natural setting, my daughter, who's almost 8 years old, she came here just before she turned 3, and she knows a lot of these native plants and native animals, the unique insects that live here, and she has a profound sense of care for them. To the extent that there was one time that a bee was being caught by a spider and she started to cry because she wanted the bee to be safe, to be okay. She felt a deep connection to the living beings of this place. So in that way, my daughter is behaving the way that indigenous cultures would teach children. I share this because, as many of you know, I'm involved in the work of building up the story of how we get to a regenerated Earth and how that regenerated Earth restores humans to a relationship of bioregional, place-based existence, of living within the patterns of the unique living context of a unique place. And see, this is something that's really important because a lot of the ways that indigenous people are treated is as though they're others, as though they're almost like they're not humans or they're superhumans, when the truth is they are ancestral humans. They are humans who live in the ancestral life ways of our past, but that have carried their traditions forward to the present. In some cases, after 500 years of attempting to destroy their cultures through patterns of colonialism. And so as we go about the work of helping to mobilize financial resources to support bioregional regeneration, a key focus is this re-indigenation, this way of becoming indigenous to a place, this way of learning how to participate in and care for the flourishing of life that is unique to each place. Now, yes, I do work with a lot of indigenous groups, and they do their own work in their own landscapes. And so there's a way in which I do partner with and support those indigenous cultures. But my job is not to try to become one of them. It's to be an ally to them, to support their learnings, to share them with the world, and to support this much more basic capacity of human beings to relate to the place where we live. As the globalized economic system seeks to destroy the biosphere, pretty much guaranteeing human extinction if that continues. The Anishinaabe prophecy of the 7th and 8th fires tells us that there will come a time when we humans, all of us, will decide if we want to continue existing by choosing to live in this way, to live in support of the living systems of the places where we live. And that prophecy is not for indigenous cultures to learn this. It's for non-indigenous cultures to learn how to be indigenous in a new way, in a way that is relevant to a context of the Holocene coming to an end, to uncharted territory into the future. Like our indigenous ancestors, they also did not know the future. They had to live in the present and attune themselves to the patterns of living systems around them in order to sustain their way of life for extended periods of time. And the same is true for all humans alive today. So I share this to say that part of the way that we honor indigenous culture is by learning how to live in harmony with life wherever we are, to seek guidance from indigenous culture where we can find it, but also, as I'm doing here in this forest, to just be with it, to sit with it. I'm sitting with it now. To watch the living processes emerge and to care for them and to support their flourishing. This is a very important part of learning to be the future indigenous, or the ancestors whose descendants become the indigenous people of the future. And so this is something I wanted to share as I go about my work here in Barichara, Colombia, where I am not from, but where I am from is this planet, Earth. I'm indigenous to the Earth, and my ancestors from Europe forgot this, but I still have the capacity within me as a human being to relate to life in this way. And I hope that this brings some inspiration and some comfort to all of you who would like to honor indigenous lifeways. You can do this too. And I hope that we all do. Onward, fellow humans.